So all the parts are in for me to rebuild these carbs. I ordered a bunch of miscellaneous parts as they were damaged or missing on the original or incorrect, so I have those. I also got a set of velocity stacks as my originals again were so damaged and had some bad repairs, so I thought I'd just go ahead and get some new ones. I got some new chokes because I want to actually upgrade these carbs to S specs. The originals were a 27mm choke and these are 34mm. Along those lines, I went through all the jetting on the carb and bought new jets to upgrade these to S specs again. So I'll be replacing all of those. I got a couple of rebuild kits for all the gaskets and parts I need from diaphragms and etc. And then I sent out all my original hardware and I had it replated, yellow zinc plated, and it just came back looking fantastic, so it'll really dress up these carbs. So the next step is to go through here and clean them with some good old carb cleaner and my nylon brushes and get all the gunk out as much as I can. And then we'll start putting these things back together again. So all these brass parts have been steeping for about 12 hours. Pretty clean. It's not as clean as I thought it would be actually. I thought it would just be sparkling clean, but they're not. I'm going to give them a quick rinse and then I'm going to put them in Pine Sol. And I think that's going to do a much better job of actually cleaning up some of this discoloration on the brass. Right, let's get all these pieces out of here. I think they're much better. Much nicer. So I've gone through both carb bodies and cleaned them the best I can. So I'm ready to go for the rebuild. I have my rebuild kits laid out. I have all my parts cleaned and laid out in my tray, as well as all of my new parts. So I'm going to rebuild them one at a time. I'm going to start with the left so I don't get confused between the parts. First job to do with that is to put the floats in. So first thing I want to check is the actual float height in the chamber. This little tab, when it rises, the float rises, it contacts the needle and seat and shuts off the fuel flow, creating the correct amount of fuel inside the float bowl. So that measurement between the tab and the top of this surface here should be 18mm, and the top of the float should be about 12.5 to 13mm above the deck surface, not including this little ridge line. So we need to measure those two things. First off, I'm just going to pop in a paper towel and then we'll install the actual float itself in the chamber, and then we'll push this down until we read. I have one caliper set up at 12.75mm, and we'll pop this down and get it to hopefully be at right at 12.75mm. Just come up slightly. Right there. Okay, I've got another caliper set up at 18.8mm because this little straight edge is 0.8 of a millimeter, and we'll pop that across there. And then with this caliper, I'm just going to measure down to the tab and right there. I can feel both surfaces there, so I know that that is set to 18mm. So I know that this, I don't need to bend the tab up or down to get the correct measurement of the float inside the chamber. This one is all set, and then I can move on to measure the next. So don't forget to remove the paper towel, obviously, from the float chamber, and I've set this one to be 18mm also. So I'm going to install a new set of venturis or chokes. These are 34mm. The old ones were 27mm that came on these T carbs. So it's quite an upgrade. It might be too much of an upgrade. I'm not sure. I've been told that 34s would be good. Other people have told me I've gone too far and it should be around 30, 32. So we'll only tell when we run the car. But so they drop down with the little hole facing here. We need to find that little hole. And these guys get safety wired in too. I'll go ahead and install the pre-atomizers with the little hole facing the actual emulsion tubes, so don't get that the wrong way. Just push down there. On the outside ones it's really easy because the hole faces the emulsion tube on the edges, and then the center one we got to face the actual jet. One is blank and one is the actual where the emulsion tube sits, so this hole should go towards here. Okay, great. Next we'll install the accelerator pump nozzles, little gasket on the bottom, and they go in here. So I'm upgrading the jets, and I got new emulsion tubes. These are F3s from the F1s that I had in here originally, and then some air correctors which sit on top of the emulsion tube. These are 180s, and before I had 185s. So go ahead and install those, and they just pop down in here for the air correctors. And again, I just want to make sure I'm putting it in the right center hole, and in here, and again this one is blank, and then the little air corrector just sits right on top. Install the idle jets with a little O-ring. So I did have 110s for the main jet, and I'm going up to a 130. These are the plugs for the float balls. Just going to install the mixture screws, all freshly plated. So I'm going to assemble the accelerator pump, and first thing that goes on is this little spring right there, then the cup pushes against the diaphragm, and the diaphragm itself, and a brand new one from the kit, and the little oval hole goes at the bottom. We're going to be very careful and slide it over the threads here. Okay, feel good about that. So I had this housing all replated, and these little 3 inlets are what feed the 3 circuits for the accelerator nozzles. So they go up, I'll put them in this way, like that. And then next is another spring, and then the other diaphragm, which sits this way with the little point sticking out. And again, being very careful. Next is the housing itself, the front. Okay, I just pressed on the little shaft that holds the arm on in the vise, and I can feel the pumping action going on. Pops in the bottom here, rotates up, little arm, and I'll just bend them around, and that's that. We are ready to go on that. So the body of the carb is finished, and now I can put the top on. First of all, new gasket. A little last check of everything up here before I put the top on. Everything looks good. Then we'll add the nuts and we'll tighten it all down. So I bought new 8mm nylon thread nuts. I also bought the right spring. My old one was like this, just a piece of junk. So I've got the right spring. Gonna put the needles and seats in with a gasket, and it's a 14mm. What do you know? Now there's the little brass caps that go on top of here. Unfortunately this one is pretty beaten up, so I ordered a new one to replace this one. And they get the actual aluminum gasket. So here's the new one, very shiny. Put that aluminum washer in. So it has a little screen inside. It's gasket, another seal on this side. So that measurement turns out to be 64mm for me. Okay, let's see how it fits. I'll tighten those down in a sec. Just get a nice Norma hose clamps. One through here, gone through, and then this bottom one will go around, and then so now it can't back out this way. So with that, we're calling the carb body itself done. I think it turned out great. The plating looks absolutely beautiful. The brasswork also looks great. All the linkage works like it should. Everything is safety wired in. Everything's upjetted to S specs. Next is air cleaner and velocity stacks. So first will be a gasket, then the base of the air cleaner, and I'm using PMO carb top because I just think it looks so good. Another gasket, and then the velocity stacks themselves, and they just look great. Let me just see how it all looks together. It's a shame to cover those bad boys up, isn't it? But we'll have the air cleaner like this, the top, and that will be our finished carb on the car.